Want to keep up with the latest LEGO Mega 96.1 videos? Make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. Hello everyone, LEGO Mega 96.1 here with another video. And welcome back to another On This Day in History. Now, for this video, I'm be covering over two events that played out on this day just years apart. What I'm be covering over is John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry in 1859 and the Walt Disney Company in 1923. Now, I'm going to do these videos in order because, well, I don't want to go out of whack here. But with that in mind, let's cover John Brown. Now, the raid on Harper's Ferry happened in Virginia, now West Virginia, in a place called Harper's Ferry, which was the exact same place where Brown led his raid in 1859 in October, and was also the site of a Civil War battle that occurred a couple years after the raid. Now, John Brown, mind you, was an abolitionist. Now, abolitionists, for those who don't know, is those that disapprove of slavery. They see it as wrong, and even today, we still see it as wrong. And even after the raid, people have mixed feelings on John Brown. Now, some see him as a hero, and some see him as a villain. But what are your thoughts on John Brown? Please tell me in the comment section down below, and please keep it civil. I'm just saying right here, keep it civil. Now, Brown went with several of his men. Among them were a group of his sons. He took up prisoners in the Federal Arsenal building, the Armory, and Firehouse. That's this building you see right here. Now, among the prisoners that he took up was George Washington's great-grandnephew. And here's another fact he didn't know. 3 years before the raid at Palomalamie Creek in Kansas, he and his sons had hacked 5 pro-slavery men to death with broadswords. Why? It was all to do with defeating Satan and his legions. Yeah, apparently Brown is a religious nut, so again, keep it civil. But after he took up prisoners, things didn't go well for him. Among the people that were killed in Harper's Ferry was the town baggage master, a free black. The slaves did not rise up in that fight, but angry townsfolk did. And not just the townsfolk alone, but Virginia and Maryland militiamen did. Now, among the casualties from Brown's group was a freed slave, someone by the name of Newby. Someone in the crowd had cut off his ears and kept them as souvenirs, which is pretty gross, mind you, and nasty. Who would want to do that? If you would think about doing it, you're sick. Shame on you. Shame on you. In response of Brown's attack on Harper's Ferry, federal troops were called in to bring down this so-called insurrection. Now, these troops were United States Marines, led by Robert E. Lee, a future Confederate general. And not only was he there, but he was also there with Jeb Stuart, who was also a Confederate general, William T. Russell, a Union man, and William W. Russell, my mistake, and Israel Green, a Confederate and Army officer. Now, the Marines, when they arrived at Brown's Fort, they started breaking down the doors with an axe, but once it was loose, they grabbed a ladder and he used it as a battering ram to break the doors down. Now, Brown and his men were captured in response to that, and Brown himself was taken prisoner. But for the Marines, they only suffered 2 casualties in that storming. 1 Marine was killed and the other was seriously wounded. And among Brown's militiamen, only 11 were dead, 7 were captured and later executed, 1 died in prison, and 5 has escaped. Now, since Brown was captured, he was tried for treason against the state of Virginia. Now, in response, Virginia found Brown guilty and they sentenced him to die. Well, how did he die? Well, he was hung by the neck until death. That was a capital punishment back then. But he didn't say anything as he was led up to the gallows. But he did leave a guard a note. And I'm going to read you what he said. And I quote, "I, John Brown, am now quite certain that the crimes of this guilty land will never be purged away but with blood. I had, as I now think, faintly faltered myself that without very much bloodshed it might be done." That was the actual note that he gave to one of the guards was before he was executed. Now, among the spectators who saw his execution, among them was a future Confederate general named Thomas Jonathan Jackson, who would later earn the nickname Stonewall at the first major battle of Bull Run, and of course, Lincoln's assassin, John Wilkes Booth, who borrowed a militia uniform to gain admission to Brown's execution. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? Yeah, John Wilkes Booth actually got a uniform from a militiaman, and he actually watched Brown getting executed. But since then, the battle lines were already drawn between North and South, and it was the beginning of the Confederacy, although the Confederacy wouldn't start until after Lincoln's assassination, until Lincoln's inauguration in 1860, and South Carolina seceded from the Union in December. So there's that. Oh, and you know the beat, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, the song? Well, the beat was actually the same beat used in John Brown's body. It was a patriotic song that talked about John Brown being a martyr. Now, if you haven't listened to the song John Brown's Body, go check it out. You'll see why. And also, the March of the 1st Kansas, a Union African American regiment, same beat too. Same beat, different songs.
And all are true.
So there's that. Oh, when doing research, I did come across a list of people who financed Brown's raid, who basically supported. Now, among those, these group of people were known as the Secret Six community. Now, these were people who secretly funded Brown's raid in '59, and all for the cause. Now, among those who supported Brown's raid, he was the colonel of the 1st South Carolina Infantry, the first federally authorized African American unit. Now, the colonel of that regiment was Thomas W. Higston. That's this fella right here. And these fellas here, these were the Secret Six. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? Now, jumping on ahead a few years later, let's talk about the Walt Disney Company. Now, if you know me and you know my channel, I love Disney. I've been going to a Disney theme park ever since 1997. In other words, I was a year old when I went down to Florida in Walt Disney World. And since then, I've seen every Disney movie, every Disney cartoon. I've been to a Disney themed store or met Disney characters. And I even made 2 videos on Disney. I've talked about my favorite Disney movies and my favorite Disney rides. If you haven't seen them, go check it out. In which, by the way, I plan to redo my favorite Disney movies video because I made one mistake involving the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I will fix it somewhere down the road. So keep an eye out on that. But before the Walt Disney Company was founded, there was a company that Walt Disney created, and along with his good friend of iWorks. And that company was none other than Laugh-O-Grams. It was located in Kansas City, Missouri, and it operated from June 28th of 1921 until it closed down on the 16th of October, 1923. Now, in that company, they worked on a lot of cartoons over the years. Now, and among the works that Disney worked on was the Alice comedies. Now, those comedies featured a live action girl in an animated world, something that was relatively new at the time. Now, before sound was even introduced, cartoons had this thing for text bubbles. That's the way most people, and that's the way cartoons did back then. There were also some pianos that go along with the music, but before the introduction of sound, that was it. Oh, before I get any criticism, just bear with me here. Mickey Mouse's first appearance wasn't playing crazy. That's the first appearance of Walt. That's the first appearance of Mickey Mouse. But the world's first synchronized sound cartoon was Steamboat Willie. That's the world's first synchronized sound cartoon. Okay? So there's that. Oh, and speaking of studio, Disney last year celebrated a big milestone in which I talked about how last year. Because last year, Disney celebrated their 100th anniversary. And in response to their 100th anniversary, Disney released a short called Once Upon a Studio. Now, I sat down here with my mother and my father, and we watched the short, and it was spectacular. They included everyone from every piece of Disney animated works. Those who worked on the cartoons and in the movies. And not only did they brought in every bit of Disney animation, they also brought in some of the actors and actresses to reprise their roles for the characters in that short. They also brought in the same actress who did in Mulan, the same actress who did Ariel, the same actor who did in Aladdin, and Josh Gad for Olaf, and they even used archival audio recording of our Disney characters as well. They also used archival recordings of Jiminy Cricket in the last minutes of When You Wish Upon a Star. They also did for Peter Pan when trying to get everyone outside to the building for a big group photo. That was pretty awesome. And there are several things I liked in that short as well. That scene where Mickey was looking at a picture of Walt in a staircase, that was pretty awesome. I mean, it's a nice way and a nice touch, too. Oh, and if you listen closely, you can actually hear Walt's favorite tune, Feed the Birds. Now, that song was from Mary Poppins, and it was written by none other than the Sherman Brothers. Richard and Robert Sherman, who worked on many Disney songs over the years. They did work on Mary Poppins, The Jungle Book, and many others. And that sequence in the end where everyone is singing When You Wish Upon a Star, which is Disney's album, that is pretty nice. And the way the camera zoomed out to get everyone in, that's awesome as well. Now, I have seen 100th anniversary videos of Disney where everyone was included, not just Disney alone, but also Star Wars, Pixar, or Marvel, Fox Entertainment, and basically everyone. But it would be nice if they do another anniversary, which or when they include all the Star Wars characters, all the Pixar characters, and all of the Marvel characters as well. That would be nice to see Spider-Man helping out, seeing the clones helping out. It would be nice, but what we got is what we got, and I can't complain. Now, if you haven't seen Once Upon a Studio, you could probably find it on YouTube, or you can even find it on Disney Plus. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's pretty spectacular. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, my friends. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, including the many other videos that I've done on my channel, please feel free to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell notification so that way you can be notified when I upload the next video. And as always, This is Lego Mega 96 1, signing off.